So, good morning once again as we call our committee chairs meeting to order on this Tuesday morning. And we have some introductions to do along the way this morning as well before we begin our business in earnest. Just as a reminder for everyone, this meeting is being live streamed, recorded, and it will be archived on the TBR website. You guys sound like an energetic group this morning, and there's good reason to be so. And that's because despite a long, hot summer that seems to be sticking with us for a while, there's so much good going on in this TBR system. We will preview some of our upcoming September meeting today for you, but I just want to mention, and all of you have touched these in so many ways, just this month alone, we had that terrific fish fry up at the TCAT Newbern, best hush puppies in town. I would encourage you to mark your calendar every August to support Dr. Jones and the tremendous work that goes on. Our TCAT ribbon cuttings continue. I don't know how many the chancellor has now been to, but I understand we have about 20 more in process. I think Regent Harriman was able to go to Harriman recently, that first week of August. I've had the privilege this past week to go to both Columbia State and just yesterday up in Fentress County. Hartsville is holding its ribbon cutting on Saturday. We have graduations continuing this month. I think Dixon's is today. So there is just so much good going on. And I reflected yesterday coming home from Fentress County. Each of these is obviously part of a larger system that all of us represent. But when you go into these communities, and again, all of us experience this, and you feel that unique sense of pride that each of our communities hold, it makes me really proud of both TBR and certainly of the state of Tennessee and the support that our governor and General Assembly have so graciously provided this system. So just a moment's worth of reflection. It is a great time, and in September, we're going to hear more about enrollments and what's happening in the fall as folks are coming back to school. So like you, I'm just proud to be part of this team. And speaking of the team, I have a couple of updates on board appointments for you. The first is you heard a familiar name come on in that lovely voice of hers. We are pleased to welcome Nisha Powers back to this board after a brief hiatus. The Lieutenant Governor McNally had the wisdom to appoint her once again as one of our at-large representatives. So welcome home, Regent Powers.
It feels great to be back.
There you go.
Thank you.
Oh,
it feels great to be back.
Oh, that's excellent.
Where's that smile? I want to see your smile.
It's fully there today. Thank you. I love seeing your faces.
That's sweet. Thank you. Thank you for being willing to do this again with us. So thank you. And Regent Spurgeon appointed for a second term by Governor Lee. So that's another great outcome. Welcome back. Not that you really ever left, but welcome for another round, Kyle.
Thank you very much.
Great representation from West Tennessee. Thank you both. And then we have three new. I'm sorry?
No, I was just saying I'm just as happy that Regent Powers is back. Fantastic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Now, Miles is another story, though, right?
I'll let you guys decide. I have my own opinion.
Just kidding. I love the way you guys get each other. And our new regents, you've heard a couple of new names, starting with Christian Petusik. Christian will now represent the 6th Congressional District. He is a senior public affairs advisor at Holland & Knight, a law firm here in Nashville. And he previously served in Governor Lee's office as Deputy Chief of Staff for External Affairs. So Christian brings considerable experience to us. He's originally from Missouri, but he came to Nashville to go to Vanderbilt University and stuck around, for which we are very glad. We have a couple of small administrative details to finalize his appointment, but we're delighted that he's here this morning. Christian, what am I missing about you?
Oh, I think you already said too many nice things. So that's perfect. I am looking forward to getting started. There's a lot of familiar faces on this board. So as I had told everyone when they were working on my appointment, of the boards out there, this is the one that I was interested in serving in, partly because
Good.
of the work y'all do and partly because of the folks who serve on this board. So very happy and honored to be amongst you.
Oh, thank you. We are honored to have you with us. So thank you. That's great words. Thank you, Christian. And adding to our West Tennessee bench strength that I just mentioned is Katie George Hoosier. Katie represents the 9th Congressional District. She is Chief Marketing Officer for IMC companies in Memphis. We're fortunate that she also previously served on the foundation board at Southwest Tennessee Community College, so she is deeply embedded in that community. Her bachelor's degree is from Emory University. She has a master's from Christian Brothers. And if the IMC companies sounded familiar at all, it is because she is the daughter of our former regent, Mark George. So we know she brings considerable experience and understanding of workforce and of Memphis, for which we're very grateful. Katie, what have I missed?
No, I think that's such a great introduction, and I appreciate it. And so again, honored to be on this board. And I have been hearing about all the good work that you do for the last 6 years, and I'm just grateful that I get to be part of it and get to know you all now.
Thank you very much. It's an exciting time. And our new student regent, Katie Snow. Katie is a student at Jackson State. She has already demonstrated considerable leadership experience. She will begin her 2nd term as president of the Student Government Association at Jackson State. And she is also chair of our TBR Student Government President's Council. So again, considerable leadership. Katie, I am missing one thing about you, so fill us in on anything else you'd like to share, but I don't recall your program of study at Jackson State. So fill us in there, please.
I'm in general studies right now, and I plan to go into community development and policy. I also am honored to serve as the president of my school's chapter of Phi Theta Kappa.
Oh,
And
very
thank you so
good.
much.
Excellent. No, thank
Thank
you.
you so
And
much for that introduction.
share with everybody else last week when it was your birthday, the course what you were going to teach that afternoon.
I was going to go volunteer coach 4, 5, and 6-year-olds. I do that every year for our county's youth league of football and cheerleading.
So I think that's
It's my
great.
3rd year.
How did it go that day?
Very well. I do have a cut on my forehead though we only had 10 of them that day. But I was in the center of a dog pile, and I'm pretty sure one of their pom-poms cut me on the forehead.
Oh no.
Because I got home, I was like, what is that?
Oh, no. I'm telling you, you never know the perils of cheerleading and gymnastics, right?
You don't. I'm just glad my group doesn't stunt.
Oh, well, thank you for being with us and for serving with us this year. We know you will provide great insights to our board. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's an honor.
And then finally, Adam Hatmaker, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
There he is. Adam
Hello.
Hatmaker. Good morning.
Good morning.
You are.
Yes.
Good morning. How are things in Jacksboro this morning?
Very good this morning. Bunch of students getting ready for graduation this evening. We have one tonight and one Thursday night.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, thanks for sharing your time with us.
Thank
Adam
you.
is an instructor at our TCAT Jacksboro. And the other good news is he's one of our own products, right? You attended the college.
I did.
there
Actually, the
as
same
well.
course I'm teaching.
That's great. In the auto mechanics?
Yes, ma'am.
That's great. Are you a native of Jacksboro?
I am.
Okay, that's great. And you've been with us now for how many years teaching at the TCAT?
Just over 10 years.
That's right. Okay, very good. So, well, thank you. We know you will offer great wisdom to us as well. Adam joins us. This is the first of his 2 years in the non-voting role for this first year with Clemisha Tumlin. But we have also assured him that even in that important non-voting role, his voice is welcome and encouraged because we always look for that faculty perspective. So we're delighted to have you with us, Adam.
Thank you. Honored to be here.
Thank you. So with all of that good news in store, and to our new regents, since we are meeting electronically, there are a couple of things we have to do with the roll call that may be a little different than you're accustomed to. But with that, Madam Secretary, let's call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since this is an electronic meeting, there are 2 questions that need to be answered by regents for the record. First, can the regent simultaneously hear and speak with others participating in the meeting? And second, is the regent alone in the room? If the answer to both questions is yes, the regent can simply answer yes to both. Anyone who is not alone should identify any other people present in the room with the regent. When I call your name, please answer these 2 questions. Governor Lee, Regent Bradshaw,
Yes to both.
Regent Burdine,
Yes to both.
Regent Gentile,
Yes to both.
Regent Harrell, Regent Hatmaker,
Yes to both.
Regent Harriman,
Yes to both.
Regent Hooser,
Yes.
and Regent Hooser, are you also alone in the room?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Holt, Regent Kastner,
Yes to both.
Regent Powers,
Here and yes to both.
Madam Chair Reynolds,
Here and yes to both.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Here, yes to both.
Regent Snow,
I can hear and I can speak. I'm currently alone in the room. However, there may be a faculty member, staff, or student that walks through, but I do have earbuds in.
thank you. Regent Spurgeon,
Here and yes to both.
Regent Stevenson, Regent Tumlin,
Here and yes to both.
and Regent White.
Here and yes to both.
Thank you. Madam Chair, your board is assembled.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I should add, Regent Gentile, thanks for joining us. We saw Regent Gentile at Columbia State on Friday night. He had a long day. He had traversed from East Tennessee, where he attended another ribbon cutting at East Tennessee State University that morning, and headed back to Middle Tennessee and joined us at Columbia State Friday night. So thank you, Stephen. We appreciate you.
Thank you. It's good to see everyone.
Thank you. Chancellor Tidings, what is on your mind this morning?
Well, good morning. And I too want to welcome our newest board members and to give you a very hearty thank you for agreeing to serve. We are so proud to have you joining this illustrious group of leaders. And I do hope that you will find your time very educational and pleasant. I also want to truly welcome Kyle and Nisha and thank them for re-upping again. We are so proud to have such a great team and so glad to be almost fully back to full pool at this point. So just glad to have everybody joining. There are 2 brief updates I'd like to give just very quickly to the board. Back in July, Russ Deaton and his team hosted our inaugural College Leadership Summit. We're calling it that because this is a little bit different than how we have brought these groups together before. It consisted of our vice presidents and executive leaders for multiple functions all across our colleges. In the past, these groups have met by themselves individually to have their bi-quarterly meetings. And so Russ and team decided we wanted to bring them all together and to focus in on some topics of importance to TBR. This first inaugural summit focused on our TBR AI blueprint. The group came together, discussed, they brought in experts. We looked at what we needed to do to be viable with our blueprint and the next steps that needed to be taken. Russ and team again took great notes. They're putting all of that together, which will become the blueprint for TBR. So we're excited to to get the results of that meeting and to see where this is going to take us. As all of you know, AI is front and center in the conversations of the work that is happening both at the central office and at all of our colleges. So we're very excited to be going down that path and to be a little bit ahead of the curve on this arena. I also would like to mention that last week we had the National Governors Association, the state liaisons of Workforce Development Partnership that met at our Smyrna campus, our TCAT Murfreesboro Smyrna campus, to view what is going on with our partnership with Nissan and TCAT there. It was a great opportunity for us to highlight and showcase the work that is happening with our partnerships and to talk about how that came together. So again, another opportunity to really showcase what's happening in Tennessee. Governor Lee spoke to that group earlier in the day when they met in Nashville and was able to talk about the great work of TCAT. So again, congratulations to all that participated in that. And as Emily mentioned, we've had quite a few groundbreakings to date. For those of you that were not able to attend the Columbia State ribbon cutting on Friday night, there is a video of the drone show that took place right after the ribbon cutting. It is on the internet, so I do encourage you to go and look at it. It was so well done. It was absolutely beautiful. Between now and October 22nd, we do have 7 more ribbon cuttings planned. So I know that Mariah has those dates and we'll get them to you. If you have the opportunity, please do come. As Vice Chair Reynolds said, the community's involvement in all of these ribbon cuttings is just so remarkable to see and to feel their excitement and what you know that's going to mean to each and every one of these communities. I just encourage you to participate where you can. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I look forward to the rest of our conversation this morning.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions or comments for the Chancellor? All right, feel free to chime in along the way. But in the meantime, we will keep us moving with thanks again to our Chancellor for her outstanding leadership. And we'll bring up yet another member of the leadership team, our Executive Vice Chancellor, Kim McCormick, who's going to give us an external affairs update and preview September.
Well, good morning, Regent Reynolds, members of the board, Chancellor Tidings. We appreciate the time to share a preview of the agenda items to be covered in depth at the committee meetings in just a couple of weeks. First, we have the External Affairs Committee members will receive an athletics update from our very excited to do this job, AVC Chris Perkins, including academic information on student athletes, highlights of conference championships, updates on new teams and sports at colleges around the system. I know just a few days ago, we got some great photos of him and President Tosteson at the Chattanooga State and Ball State soccer game recently, and everybody looked like they were just having a grand time. I will also be providing a brief update on the TBR website redesign project that is currently underway. It is it's going very well. The team is working very hard, and I can't wait to show you a preview of what that's going to look like as well. And then in addition, we will highlight the 2027 legislative priorities, which after I finish this slide, I'm going to give you a preview of those on the next one. As you know, we come together with presidents, gathering information from them, and then as a leadership team to come up with these legislative priorities every year. So in the Workforce Development Committee, Dr. Sisk will present the 2025-26 THEC Workforce Hours Report. And while calculations are still being finalized by THEC, we project that roughly, as always, every year for the past several years, this year, at least a 3% increase in overall hours delivered. And I really want to thank Dr. Sisk and his team for all the work that goes into compiling this information, and really to thank the colleges as well for the work they put into delivering this training throughout the year. More information is going to be provided about the West Tennessee Nuclear Summit to be held at Jackson State Community College on Wednesday, September 30th. This is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. For now, I can share with you that the event will bring together regional leaders to explore West Tennessee's emerging role in supporting the growth of the nuclear energy sector. And Regent Spurgeon, you know this very well, and we look forward to you being there as well. I want to give you a brief update of who will be presenting. Chancellor Tidings, obviously, President Carol Rothstein, Brandon Stover from ECD, Bill Tyndall from the East Tennessee Economic Council, Dr. Joe Hoagland from ORNL, Merrill Harris from TBA, Callie Cook from ECD, and then Regent Spurgeon will be presenting as well. Let's see where I'm going to go. The discussions at that summit will focus on workforce demand, critical skill needs, and the region's capacity to support nuclear projects through its strengths in manufacturing, transportation, construction, logistics, and industrial operations as investments advance. Can you all hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're going to talk about the fuel cycle technologies and related energy infrastructure as it continues to expand across Tennessee. And as we know, West Tennessee is well positioned to play a key role in the nuclear supply chain. And then finally, Dr. Sisk is going to discuss the Nuclear Life Cycle Innovation Campus, NLIC, and the role TBR will play in the grant for this project if awarded from the federal government. And I apologize for that pause a moment ago. My entire computer just went away and came back. So let's go on to the next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, I want to just give you a brief look at the 6 priorities, the legislative priorities that we have come up with for this session. Targeted faculty compensation. Every president will tell you that this is something that is a high need for the system. We're going to look at targeted faculty compensation for those high demand programs and occupations across the system. And let me go ahead and tell you that for all of these priorities, the cost is being calculated right now. Vice Chancellor Alicia Fox and her team are working diligently to get these together so that we can present them to you as well. Specialized workforce training centers. These are not actually centers, but these are areas of focus in critical minerals, ceramic tile, nuclear energy, cybersecurity, and aviation maintenance. And then as Chancellor mentioned,
it's Lizette. So I just want to encourage the team to not forget about K-12 and the role that we play into the pipeline. So we talked about, I think we're talking a lot about this nuclear energy piece, and it's great that we're looking at our higher ed partners as pursuing this alongside our workforce partners. But, K-12 also has a responsibility to prepare kids so that they're able to enter into these programs at our TCATs, community colleges, and four-year universities. So I would really just like to encourage the team to continue to look to us to help support and talk about the work that we're doing so that we can also be part of the conversation when it comes to filling the workforce of the future. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you for saying that. And that's why your presence, when we know how busy you are, but when you're with us, we always appreciate the council. Commissioner, one quick question. What in this nuclear space, do you guys currently have partnerships ongoing? Is there someone, I know our team knows your team well, but is there some place we should or could be plugging in?
I mean, we have established, as you stated, a really great relationship with the TBR team and the THEC team.
Yeah.
I think. Oh, sorry, I haven't left the house yet. But I think that's what I've been a little wondering is how we do get involved. Because, I would love to, we have our meeting with our directors of schools next month in Gatlinburg. And so, part of it is trying to encourage our high schools to really start looking at what do these pathways look like in the CTE space so that we can fill the role. So it's really just a matter of reaching out to us. Everybody knows Deb Noel really well and Christy Brown and me. And so just let us know. And we would love to, even if it's just to brainstorm, we don't have to have any featured opportunities, but I just want to make sure that people don't forget, because we sometimes get forgotten out there. And we're responsible for making sure our kids are prepared to enter into the pathways that y'all offer. So that's all.
I can
Well
add
said.
that-
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean
Go
to
ahead,
interrupt.
Kim. No,
Yes,
go ahead.
I can add that all the regional K-12 partners are invited to that West Tennessee Summit. And really, then there's one more point we could make, is that on the Tennessee Works core team, you do have Deb Knoll serves on that. And one of the areas of emphasis, obviously, with Tennessee Works is the nuclear emphasis as well. So those are two pieces that I know that are out there, but I agree that we need to strengthen that very much.
And that way we can encourage them too, to say, hey guys, this is an opportunity for your voices to be heard, for you to understand what it is that higher ed and our workforce needs, because we want to be able to also encourage our directors in our districts to really look at this, particularly when they're focused in areas, especially in West Tennessee right now with everything that, happened with Ford and stuff. So I think that would be a really great opportunity for us to help support you better.
Thanks,
Reynolds.
Commissioner. Very helpful. Very helpful. So, and just like you, Regent Gentile has reminded us as well, Kim, that TN Works is also a good clearinghouse. So it sounds like we're all already plugged in where we need to be, and we'll make it even better. So thank you. I have noticed that Katie Snow's hand is up, and I apologize for the delay. Regent
I do
Snow?
believe, yes, I do believe Regent Spurgeon raised his hand right before me, if you want to go to him first.
Katie, I will defer to you and then come back. Go right ahead.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to ask Dr. McCormick, those targeted compensations for faculty, are those going to be for the programs that we're looking into, like cybersecurity? I'm sorry, my mind is blanking right now. I can see the words, but I can't say them, but that you just spoke about.
Katie,
Go ahead, Chancellor.
Kim, I'll take that one. We are actually still working on exactly what those programs are going to be, because we want to base it on the data. So we are looking at where, first of all, we have the biggest gap, and where the difference between what someone's making in the classroom and what they're making in the field. So we're looking at each and every one of those. Dr. Fox is running the numbers on all of that, and we will have a complete list to be able to give to the board once we've finished determining all of the data and what that looks like. But again, we don't want an across the board raise. That's not what we're asking for. We are asking for some very specific pointed areas that we can be competitive with, where we can give individuals stipends to look at joining our workforce rather than being employed in the field at that moment in time, because there are areas where we are having some difficulties finding people.
Absolutely, that sounds wonderful. Thank you.
All right, Kyle Spurgeon.
All right, just quickly, Commissioner Reynolds, just to respond, some of the things, and your point's well taken with our public school system. A lot of what probably happens that you don't see happens at the grassroots level. Just for example, this afternoon we have a meeting with Mars Snacking, and most of you probably know that all the Pringles in North America are made by Jackson. Mars just bought that facility from Kellogg's last year. Today, our meeting is it's a follow-up from a meeting that our team had in their offices about a month ago. They have 1,000 employees, and a lot of that workforce is aging out. And plus, over the next several years, they will need to add employees. They need a better career pathway. And so what the chamber is doing, and I'm sure Miles does this on a regular basis, we're convening our public school system, our TCAT, and our community college this afternoon to put that together. And so a lot of that work you're describing with our school systems happens with the chambers and economic development teams. It just may not get reported up through this board, but I can assure you across the state that's happening.
Of course.
as a matter of fact, tomorrow morning, we've got an event called Education to Employment, to which I get to introduce our chancellor, and she's going to speak about our 4 focuses. Looking forward to hearing from you, Chancellor. And it's not an all-day event, but it's I guess it goes until about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, something like that.
Anything else for Dr. McCormick? All right, I will just add to Regent Spurgeon's comment that you cannot beat a good can of Pringles, and I am proud that they are made right here in Tennessee. So good work.
Thank you.
And by the way, Mars was one of Dr. Jones's lead sponsors up at the Northwest Fish Fry, so they are great community partners. I need to turn back to Mariah because Regent Harrell has joined us, and we'll need to make his presence official and ask those 2 questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regent Harold, can you confirm that you can hear and speak with us and that you are alone in the room?
Yes to both.
Thank you. And also, Madam Chair, it appears Dr. Reed has her hand raised. Dr. Reed, did you have anything to add to the discussion?
Yes, I just wanted to provide some additional information to Regent Reynolds' encouragement to engage K-12. One of the things that Dr. McCormick highlight were these centers of excellence where we were starting these academies in 5 key areas across the state, which are going to be strategic minerals, the cybersecurity, ceramic tile, nuclear energy, and aviation. All of those programs we're in the early stages of design, Regent Reynolds. And those are all going to be designed as either a TCAT technical middle college in the high school, where if that program, for instance, the aviation middle college, technical middle college, they will also earn the TCAT credential industry certifications at the same time, whether in high school, or those programs will be held as a traditional middle college where they will earn the associate's degree. So all of those that Dr. McCormick highlighted are slated to be in the high school. So we will be working very closely with your team as well as the superintendents as we identify the best locations for those technical or middle colleges. So just wanted to highlight the connection there, and that those plans are in the works. All of those will be in the high school space to start those academies.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner, thanks for starting a good conversation there. Much appreciated. So, and you guys are going to have to help me with the hands. For some reason, I don't have everybody up on the screen. So if I miss a hand, flag Mariah or one of us down. Thank you so much. Anything else for Dr. McCormick or on external affairs? If not, we have up next a capital budget update from Dick Tracy, who is, of course, the star of the show at all of these groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings. Dick, we are grateful for your help.
Thank you, Regent Reynolds. This is an update on our capital budget. You know, at the June meeting, the board reviewed the proposed capital budget request that we were submitting to THEC, which would be sent to the governor's office for inclusion in the upcoming budget. Following that meeting, the campuses continue to work with our team and other consultants to refine the programs as well as the cost. And one of some of the feedback from THEC was they were looking at all the LGIs and TBR and UT to look at including a 5% escalation added in those projects. So we adjusted it with that, as well as looking at the current construction costs and program needs. So now we've got 11 capital projects for consideration. There was one project that was submitted. The campus has requested to pull that from the submittal. They want to continue to evaluate what their capital needs are, and that's at Walters State. So we have 11 projects that we'll be submitting to THEC and to F&A for consideration in the upcoming budget. Those will approximately, the cost of those will be $752 million. That's $726 million of that would be the state's request, not including the match. On the capital maintenance side, we have 30 projects for consideration, and that aligns with the TX 80.77 million target. It's again, these are both going to be submitted to THAC, to FNA for the inclusion in the governor's budget. As you all understand, this governor will hand off whatever they have to the upcoming governor and they'll come up with their budget, which will be then submitted to the legislators for funding. So you'll see these projects and updates again as part of our legislative priority funding request presented by the finance committee at the September meeting. So Regional Reynolds, that concludes my update.
Thank you. Anything for Dick? And again, we'll get in greater detail in the finance committee meeting. All right, hearing none, thanks again. We'll look forward to learning more. Vice Chancellor Reed, you were back up, followed by Dr. Fox with a couple of matters around personnel and compensation.
Yes, thank you, and good morning again to Vice Chancellor Reynolds, Chancellor Titans, and all members of the board, and particularly a welcome to our new members of the board. We'll look forward to supporting you around the great work in academic affairs. I'm bringing forward a faculty promotion recommendation for Nashville State Community College. Just as context, particularly for new board members, faculty earned the ranks of assistant professor, associate professor, or full professor in the community college system, and promotion is not based merely on time spent in the position. Advancing in rank really requires a faculty member to document their excellence in teaching, service, and scholarship to demonstrate they meet the standards for the next rank. And typically promotions in rank are also accompanied by salary increases beyond any cost of living or across the board increases given by the state. Each community college has their own policy guiding that promotion process and criteria, which is aligned and guided overall by TBR's policy on this. So Nashville State Community College inadvertently omitted one faculty member from their regular annual recommendation roster, all 16 of whom were approved at the June 2026 board meeting. So again, we're bringing forward Janessa Jacobs in biology for promotion from assistant professor to associate professor. And so that is being submitted for the board's approval. And if approved, the Office of Academic Affairs recommends that this promotion be retroactive to July 1, 2026 due to the administrative oversight of the institution. Thank you, Regent Reynolds.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. And we'll follow on with that from Dr. Fox, I believe.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Vice Chair Reynolds, Chancellor, members of the committee. So before you now, for your future consideration is the salary increase that goes along with the faculty promotion that Dr. Reed just presented, in addition to 3 other corrections from the June 2026 promotions. You should have the details of those increases in your advanced materials. Next slide, please. So in summary, we have 2 community colleges that submitted corrections to their June 2026 faculty promotion request. Nashville State, as Dr. Reed just mentioned, included 1 faculty member who was mistakenly omitted from the June 2026 submission. And then Pellissippi included 3 faculty members previously submitted with a correction to the June 2026 amount. Next slide, please. The increases total $11,947.64 for the 4 promotions. However, the actual difference between the June 2026 submission and the new submission is actually just $2,767.64. The 3 corrections by Pellissippi amounted to only $100. So the bulk of the promotion increase is the brand new faculty member that was mistakenly omitted from Nashville State. Okay. TBR staff has verified the proposed ranks of these individuals submitted for promotion by the institutions and ensured a corresponding increase for those eligible. This item is being presented as information only today, as action will be taken at the September board meeting on the consent agenda. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have about this recommendation.
Any questions for either Dr. Reed or Dr. Fox? We know obviously that in a system of this size and scope, mistakes can happen. This is not the first time, but I do have a quick question, particularly on these, the increases for the current faculty were so de minimis. And Brian, you may want to think about this too. Is there a way? I understand we need to take action, but is there a way, since they are so small, to have it when something is so de minimis? Is there a way for the board to grant authority for these to be made without further board action. I know we want the transparency. I know we want the board to be aware, but just food for thought. These are such a small amount.
I think we can, thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. I think we can probably work on something, just maybe a formal delegation. That
Yeah.
way the board could revoke it is the first thing that comes to mind. But let me take a look at that and get back with you offline if that works for you.
Okay, that would be great. And I should have brought it up before this morning, but I just haven't had a chance to catch up with you. Any other questions or comments on this obviously fairly routine matter for us, but you will see it again? All right, hearing none. Brian, you are up next on some proposed rule revisions, which can be a bit of a complicated process, and I appreciate you taking it on.
Well, thank you. And again, good morning. Good morning to the other members of the board and to Dr. Tidings. I'd just like to kind of give a heads up right now that we're initiating a rulemaking process. So this is really the first step in it, and I'll go through the next steps. Next slide, please. We've got rule revisions to 2 rules that we're going to be embarking on, and both of these rule revisions are required by statutory changes. They're relatively minor, so I don't think any of these will be controversial. The materials are or the changes are tracked in your materials. Next slide, please. But it's the Title IX in our contested case rule that we're going to be going through. The Title IX rule changes are designed to implement a new statute that the General Assembly passed this term. And that statute requires that both our rules, and our rules are similar to the federal regulations in that there's a lengthy process, as well as the policies, which are things that are still subject to a process, but a little more flexible, must define sex and gender when they're referring to a natural person as the immutable characteristics of the person's reproductive system, identifying the person as male or female as determined by anatomy and genetics at the time of birth. So we'll go through the rulemaking process in just a moment in the details of it. As far as the policy-making process goes, the board has provided a policy on how to make policies. One of the things we can do is make ministerial revisions when there's a change to the law or change in nomenclature or something really minor like that don't need to go through the whole process and then come to you. So we will be making ministerial revisions to the relevant policies prior to January 1 in order to comply with that law. Next slide, please. The other rule we're making changes to is to the contested case rule. These are to align with both the law and to align with policy. A contested case hearing is essentially a trial in front of a judge, but slightly less formal. They're required by law to be offered by state agencies from time to time when certain statutory or constitutional rights are at issue. The revisions are going to conform to the board-approved policy regarding contested cases that y'all revised and approved the revisions of in June. And the legislative requirement to change this was really driven by the changes in the termination of tenured faculty statutes. Previously, the statute said that tenured faculty could appeal directly to Chancery Court, and that was essentially instead of a contested case hearing. Now, following any termination, a tenured faculty member, because they have a constitutional property interest in that continued employment, is entitled to a contested case hearing, but not go directly to court. So that's the legal change on that. So the process, next slide, please, is essentially a lengthy process to amend rules. It used to be that the board could just publish the rules, and if nobody objected, they could be approved and go into effect. But in an increase in transparency, the legislature over the past number of years has increased the oversight that the legislature has with respect to rulemaking, and it's also increased the transparency and given additional opportunity for public input. I've already gone through these, so next slide, please. So the process overview is right now, we're essentially in what can be phrased the review and outreach process. We've sent the rules or the proposed revisions to the Attorney General's office for an informal review. They're good with them. And drafts also go to the chairs of the Government Operations Committee with an offer to discuss the revisions. The reason we do this is that the front end is the very last step before these rules going into effect is formal review by the Government Operations Committees. And what we don't want is to get to the very end of the process and the committees to say no or to express reservations and then have to go back and do the process all over again. So we're soliciting input on the front of the process. Again, I think these will be very straightforward and not controversial. The next stage is the notice and hearing. Back up, please, still on that slide. The next stage is the notice of hearing. We must prepare a notice of hearing, provide 45 days notice, and then the Secretary of State will post it, and then we will have a notice, we will have a rulemaking hearing. Back in 2021, the board delegated to the General Counsel's office the ability to have that hearing. We had a number of rules that I think were a lot more controversial in 2021, and we had no comments on them. I would be surprised if we have comments on them this time, but we might, and we need to have a formal rulemaking hearing. But since y'all don't need to hear this stuff twice or 3 times, it's probably a good idea that you have it delegated to me to go ahead and have that hearing. After we have that hearing, we will review any comments that we get at the hearing and or in writing and potentially revise rules if necessary. And then I will present these formally at the December board meeting and ask you to approve them via a vote. If you approve them, the rules will go ahead and get filed with the Secretary of State's office and become effective 90 days after a formal review by the Attorney General's office and then that formal review of the Joint Government Operations Committee hearing that we want to make sure goes smoothly. So with that, I'll pause and see if there are any questions about the rulemaking process in general or the 2 rules that we're moving forward with revising.
I think we've got this. So,
Thank
and then
you.
importantly, we'll see this hopefully final at our December board meeting. Terrific. Thank you. Thanks again for taking this on. Brian, you are still up, and let me begin this item, our governance refresher, with just a word of reminder to all of us who have been through this before, and just as a point of information for our newer folks. Every 2 years, our accreditor, SACS COC, requires us to conduct a board assessment. It is an emailed survey that we send out generally late September, early October, following our 3rd quarter meeting. Your responses are confidential in nature. And what we do is look at our structure as a board. We ask a series of questions. There are some open-ended questions for you to, should you choose to have add additional thoughts. But it really is to look at how we govern ourselves, if you will. And for our newer board members, you may not feel ready to answer all of these questions, but there is a question specific to those who did not previously answer this survey 2 years ago about your orientation process, was it helpful, and so forth. So there is certainly a role for you to play in this assessment as well. Since SAC-COC started this a few years ago, I'm proud to report that we've had 100% response to this every 2 years. So with that, we'll continue obviously to remind you, and we'll work with you as we finish these up in that October window. But between Mariah and Brian, they've put together just a little presentation for us on a governance refresher, just a reminder of some of the things we may be asked. There is one question in particular with regard to removal of a board member that we tend not to remember every 2 years, because this is a good board. It's a collegial board. It's not that we're not afraid to question the team or each other, but we work so well together that frankly, the process of how to remove a board member is never at the top of our mind. And I think Brian's included that for our conversation today. But again, just a brief refresher in preparation for you to know that this board assessment is coming your way in the following weeks. So let me stop there, Brian, and correct me on anything as I return the floor to you.
No, nothing to correct you on. I did learn perhaps an interesting tidbit, and we'll get to that in the next slide, because while I was trying to confirm that I knew that SAC-COC stands for the Southern Association of College and Schools Committee on Colleges, I learned that effective September 1, their name is changing. So if you hear, I mean, the entity is going to remain the same. Their branding and their name is changing. So if you in the future hear them referred to as the Commission on Colleges and Universities, or even the Commission, that's what over some time that I think we'll be referring them on. So just a heads up on that one. What they do, I don't think is going to change. There are probably others on this call who could get really down in the weeds on it. But, and since you've already covered the 2 other points, we'll go to the next slide, please. With respect to the board policies that relate to governance, and the policies that we think that the board members most often use are the Code of Ethics for board members, as well as the Conflict of Interest policy for regents. Some of these requirements are driven by statute. Some of them are part of the bylaws and have been voted on by the board into the policy. All of them, I think, are pretty much common sense, and that say no self-dealing. Don't use your position for the benefit of family, friends, or yourself, and act in the best interest of the colleges, and you'll be all right. Occasionally, and I don't think we've had one since I came on board in 2020, there is a request to address the board, but it's a statutory requirement of the Open Meetings Act that we have a process that allows members of the public to request to address the board. And every other year, and I'll get to this one in a little more detail, there's the evaluation of the chancellor that the board is responsible for. There are a number of other policies that might apply to board members and that are included on our website, because all of the TBR policies are on our website. Next slide, please. As far as the responsibilities you have, is the statutory responsibilities essentially create a system-wide policy structure to help implement the policies. What the goal is establish consistent standards across the system while preserving flexibility for institutions so that they can react to local circumstances and do what needs to be done. And as I think most people know, not only did the Focus Act back in 2016, implementing in 2017, separate the locally governing institutions from the Tennessee Board of Regents, but one of the other portions of the statute was to make us act more like a system. And to that extent, for the past 10 years, we have been moving more in more in terms of a consistent standards and consistency across the colleges. As those of you who have been on the board for a while know, before coming to the board for consideration and a vote, The policies will go through the sub-council process. That includes academic affairs, student affairs, faculty affairs, business affairs sub-council, and the IT sub-council. Then they'll go to the president's council, and then they'll come to the committees. That's often done at the committee chairs meeting. The August committee chairs meeting is typically pretty light on policies, largely because the June board meeting implements so many policies every year that are required by statute. And also because we this year have kind of changed the sub-council process and had an AI sub-council focused meeting as opposed to trying to bring any policies forward. But this gives the board the ability to consider the policies, review the policies, discuss the policies. And typically what will happen is the TBR staff member with primary responsibility for the area will preview policies and preview policy changes with the chair of the relevant committee or relevant committees and give the chair an ability to ask questions. Next slide, please. Because we've had such great turnover on our board, and the number of people on this board have recently filed their conflict of interest disclosure upon appointment. So thank you for getting that done. It's due within 30 days. I think we're in good shape on that. The annual appointment, I thank you in advance for getting that done. Those will come out in December. Again, the DocuSign process that Mariah has used to streamline it I think makes it easier for the board members, and it's certainly easier for tracking, and it helps us get this done. If there are any mid-year disclosures, please let me know. Sometimes we would want to create a formal disclosure. Sometimes an email exchange that goes into the file is fine. And as always, if you have any questions, let me know. Next slide, please. As I mentioned just briefly, the chancellor's evaluation is conducted every 2 years. We had one last year, so there's one next year. This is led by the chair of the Personnel and Compensation Committee, but it involves input from all the board members, as well as the presidents and senior staff. Next slide. And this is the question. This is the question that the chair mentioned at the beginning of this segment of the presentation. The question that consistently gets the fewest number of yes answers on the self-assessment is as follows. Does the board have an appropriate and fair process for the dismissal of a board member? So here's the process. Hopefully you'll think it's fair. It's in the orientation materials and the orientation packets that you've got and the board member manual. That's also in the code of ethics. And as the vice chair said, there's almost never a need to invoke this process. There certainly hasn't been a need while I've been here, or I haven't heard about it either. It would require a 2/3 majority of the board to, number one, find that a board member engaged in a material violation of the code of ethics, and also to vote that member off of the board. In order to do this, it would be done through a contested case hearing that would be very similar to the contested case hearing I mentioned earlier, which is essentially a bench trial. A judge, the board would be sitting as the triers of fact and making the decision, but there would be opportunity for cross-examination, for direct examination, for calling witnesses, and review of documentation. And so there would be plenty of due process. There's probably so much due process that if it ever becomes necessary for a board member to resign, the board member is not going to want to go through the process in an open meeting and have it published and live on our website for at least 3 years. So I think it's a process that is not undertaken lightly, and it does have rigorous due process. So hopefully you will agree that that's fair, but obviously that's your decision when you get the assessment that I think will be coming out in October, late September, October, I think is what I've heard. So Madam Chair, I think that's the last slide.
Any questions or comments for Brian? Thank you. And here we go. Yep, following the quarterly meeting. So we'll all look forward to receiving that. And again, I will thank you in advance for making this one a priority when it lands in your inbox. Much appreciated.
And I think you asked me, Madam Chair, and to mention that last point, but I think you got that last point about new members. If you're not comfortable, that's okay. But if you are comfortable, please answer.
Indeed. Thank you very much. And there is that neutral column, so which is very helpful. Thank you, Brian, for all of your good work. Chancellor, are you ready to talk about this quarterly meeting we've been alluding to all morning, and any closing comments as well from your end?
Well, absolutely. It is exciting to highlight our September board meeting, which is coming up. We'll gather on Thursday, September 17th at the new TCAT Shelbyville campus, and it is truly a magnificent campus. Registration opens at 9:30, and tours of the campus will be available throughout the morning. Lunch will be served at 11:30, followed by board committee meetings beginning at 1 o'clock. The highlight of the evening is going to be a special dinner at the historic Tennessee Walking Horse National Celebration Grounds in Shelbyville, and those who wish to remain after dinner will enjoy a horse show. On Friday, September 18th, the day will begin with campus presentations from TCAT Shelbyville, TCAT McMinnville, and Motlow State, followed by the full board meeting beginning at 9:30. Mariah and Elizabeth will continue to update you about the meeting and the events. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to them. And we truly look forward to seeing everybody in Shelbyville and showing off that beautiful campus in September. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Anything else for the Chancellor? She always reminds us we have an important but pretty simple mission: student success and workforce development, and we are grateful for your leadership. So again, as we close this portion of our morning, another welcome back to Nisha, and a thanks for re-upping to Kyle and to Adam and Christian. And we had 2 Marks once upon a time, and now we have 2 Katies. So welcome all. You know where to find us should you need anything before we have the chance to see you guys in person in September. If there is no further business to come before us this morning, I will adjourn this portion of our meeting. And Regent Burdine, are you ready to call the Audit Committee into session?
Yes, ma'am, I sure am. As chair of the Audit Committee of the Tennessee Board of Regents, I now call the meeting to order. And Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Thank you. Since this is an electronic meeting, there are 2 questions that will need to be answered by regents for the record during roll call. First, can the regent simultaneously hear and speak with others participating in the meeting? And second, is the regent alone in the room? If the answer to both questions is yes, the regent can simply answer yes to both. Anyone who is not alone should identify any other people present in the room with the regent. When I call your name, please answer these 2 questions. I'll begin with our Audit Committee members, and then we'll check for any other regents remaining on the line. Regent Bradshaw.
Yes to both.
Chairman Burdine.
Yes to both.
Regent Kastner.
Yes to both.
Regent White.
Yes to both.
Thank you. Our Audit Committee does have a quorum. I'll now check for other regents. Governor Lee. Regent Gentile. Regent Harrell.
Yes to both.
Regent Hatmaker.
Yes to both.
Regent Harriman.
Yes to both.
Regent Hooser.
Yes to both.
Commissioner Holt. Regent Powers.
Present and yes to both.
Regent Emily Reynolds.
Yes to both.
Commissioner Reynolds.
Yes to both.
Regent Snow.
Yes to both.
Regent Spurgeon. Regent Stevenson. And Regent Tumlin.
Present and yes to both.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your Audit Committee is assembled and you do have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. First part of our section is informational reporting. Does not require any action, but sections 1A through 1D, I'll turn it over to our Chief Audit Executive, Mr. Mike Batson.
Thank you, Regent Burdine. Thank you, board members, and welcome new board members and newly reappointed board members. Great to have everybody. A lot of information here in the informational reporting, so I'll try to cover that. If there's any questions anytime, please stop me and I'll be glad to answer. First up, starting on page 3 of your audit committee materials are findings and recommendation logs. Some good news there. We've got several recommendations that have been closed. I think 4 for Chattanooga State, Motlow, a couple for Roane State, 1 for Southwest. We do have some new recommendations added. Athletic follow-up at Chattanooga, some athletics compliance issues at Motlow, as well as at Roane, and then some recommendations for an equipment audit at Ball State. On page 7 for TCATs, we have a couple of recommendations that were closed for TCAT Livingston. Next up on page 8, state audit recommendations. Cleveland State, they originally had 5 audit recommendations from state audit. They have 4 left. We have said that 2 of those are closed. 2 of those are still being worked on. The 2 that were closed really related to the hiring of both the bursar and senior accountant positions, which were key positions for their financial statement process. They just filled those. I think the senior accountant was filled probably about 6 weeks ago, which is great. The problem there is their next audit period would be through 2026, 25, and 26. So there is still potential for some issues there. It just takes time getting those things cleaned up, and getting those positions filled is going to help for the future. And I think they look good going forward. But for that audit period that's just passed, we could still have some repeat findings on those issues. Hopefully not, but again, with it being so late and getting those issues corrected, that could be a timing problem. Chattanooga State completed the final open recommendation that they had there. So great for Chattanooga State. Shifting gears again, information systems recommendations on page 9. Both Pellissippi and Ball State have completed their recommendations this quarter. So great for them. We've added recommendations for TCAT Athens and TCAT Jacksboro. We'll talk more about those a little later on. Those were from the information security audits that Don has been working on. Next up, audit reports and reviews. We only had 1 miscellaneous external review. That was a THEC or TSAC financial aid program review at TCAT Crump. They received a clean review there, so congratulations, TCAT Crump. That's always good news. It's hard to do with financial aid, but congratulations to them. We had 7 federal audit reports, all related to Veterans Affairs compliance surveys. Dyersburg State, Nashville State, and then TCAT Livingston, TCAT McMinnville, TCAT Memphis, Northwest, and Upper Cumberland. TCAT Memphis was the only one that did not have any discrepancies. So again, congratulations to Memphis on that. That's also hard to do. There's a very low threshold for error on those audits. I won't go into great detail on all 7 of those. That information is in your materials. I will note that 6 of the 6 that had compliance surveys, several mentioned second code. So I'm sorry, Chapter 1010 certification issues. What that is for Chapter 33 of the GI Bill. The colleges have to do 2 enrollment certifications, one right after the student enrolls, and then a secondary one after the drop add date. We had some issues. A few of our colleges attended a training, and I think there was a misunderstanding there in that training that the second certifications were no longer necessary. So those did not get done timely they were corrected once the review were noted, but it was really sort of a clerical thing where they went to the same training, came out with the same understanding that we no longer had to do those when actually we did. So that covers several of the errors that we had seen. National State, I do want to note, had their audit covered January 24 to December of 25. They had quite a few certifications that were not timely and some errors going on there. In July of 25, National State hired a new school certifying official, and none of the errors, well, there was one minor error after that person was hired. So we think with the new person they have in, those errors will be cleaned up. Again, none in the last year and a half, except for the one minor error for them. So let's see, moving ahead to internal audits, quite a few of those. Those of you who have been on the board recall that we did an athletics compliance audit a little over a year ago. So we have several follow-ups on those. I'll cover those quickly, but Chattanooga State, several of these have to do with conflict of interest reporting. Athletics employees are required every year in January to submit a conflict of interest disclosure form. That's been, I think, a challenge for some of the schools to get different coaches and assistant coaches to turn those in on time, and they're working on those processes. Chattanooga State is still working on that process. They don't have it complete yet. Columbia State has finished up that process, and they are now getting theirs in on time. So that's good news for them. Jackson State, their issue was with travel documentation. They have corrected that. So they are good there for that recommendation and that report. Moving on to Motlow. Motlow was a little different. As many of you know, we did not have an audit for a period of time. And Cindy Ray came in a little over a year ago and caught up on the athletics compliance audit. As part of doing the compliance audit, she came up with an investigation, and I'll cover both of those here. First, the investigation, she found non-compliance with NJCAA bylaws in terms of housing. And what happened, we had an assistant coach who was collecting rent payments for players and then turning that money in to the landlord, which is a violation. That's one we've seen in the past at other schools. They do have that situation corrected now. It was reported to the NJCAA. And so that situation has been dealt with. She also found travel claims were not submitted appropriately. They have a process in place to correct that. And again, as I mentioned earlier, conflict of interest disclosures were not submitted timely, and they are still working to correct that. As a tangent to Motlow's athletic compliance audit, another issue came to our attention regarding a vendor that one of the teams was using for an off-campus practice site. Really more, I guess, compliance issues with policies. They did not have a contract in place. The coach was turning in the invoices, just not a very neat tied down process. We didn't find any fraud or missing money, but a situation that could have gone south in a hurry. And I think we've gotten that corrected, where they understand they do need to have agreements in place if they're going to be paying somebody for offsite facilities. And then next up, another conflict of interest issue with athletics, Roan State. With the golf program, they had someone who was a part-time assistant and I think at one point volunteer coach who also had an outside business. Before that person was hired, they had done business with that vendor, small amount, less than $1,000. Once he came on board, They did make additional purchases from him, again, a small amount, I think around $500. It really, again, necessitated them tying down their conflicts of interest process for coaches, communicating that process, and making sure those forms were turned in timely and that they were also reviewed by the committee. Several recommendations came out of that. The coach is no longer there. Again, that was a part-time assistant, also I think a part-time volunteer coach. So not like a head coach or full-time employee. And again, very minor discrepancies, but again, reflected the need for that process and for the college to have policies and controls in place to make sure those forms are turned in. And I think, see, I skipped Northeast. Northeast State, there was a food service contract with no findings or recommendations. So great news there. Last on internal audit reports for the community colleges, Volunteer State, we had an equipment audit there that came up with, I think, 7 good recommendations in terms of accounting for equipment, inventory, reconciliations, inventory listings, what should be included in inventory. Unless anybody wants details, I won't go into the details there, but very good audit. And I think that one will be helpful going forward for the ERP plan. It'll be good to get those equipment lists and everything in Banner, make sure those things are tied down going forward. That's it for internal audit reports. Before I go on, are there any questions about any of those? Seeing none, I'll move ahead to system-wide internal audit updates. First, open internal audit positions. We currently have positions open at Cleveland State, which we had put that one on hold until Dr. Davis was in place. We have had some applications come in, so good news there. Still working on filling that. Columbia also, Leah left a little over a year ago, still trying to fill that one. And now Motlow, as I mentioned, Cindy left for another position. Congratulations to Cindy. It was quite a move up for her and well-deserved. But we will miss her at Motlow, and I think I speak for Dr. Torrance and his staff that they will miss her also. But now we've got to fill the Motlow position there. System-wide office positions. Great news. We've hired a new investigative auditor, Emily Bridges. And if you're on, if you want to show your picture so everybody can see who you are. But great to have Emily. She comes to us from University of Memphis and had a wide range of experience there, both with investigations and internal audit. So she'll be a versatile member of our team and can help, obviously, with investigations and hopefully as needed with some internal audits. So great to have Emily. Welcome aboard, and great to have you in your first audit committee meeting.
Thank you.
We are currently about to schedule interviews for the administrative assistant 3 position. So that one has been hanging out there. We had some good applicants this time and about to move forward with that. Next, our quality assurance program. For those new members, internal audit is required by state law to follow the Institute of Internal Auditors global standards, and that requires that we have an external review periodically. We also that we do internal self-assessments. This year, we're in that process for the internal self-assessments. We're currently working on what that's going to look like and what those reports will look like. So you'll be seeing more on that later this year. Next, just a housekeeping note, management's risk assessments and information security risk assessments are items that we cover in executive session due to confidentiality, and those will be in the meetings later this morning. Hope it's not afternoon when we get there. Let's see, any questions on those things that I've covered? Great, moving on, last informational item, review of internal audit, year-end status reports on the previous audit plans. This year, our audits, majority were for required audits, consultation and risk-based, which are good. That's really what we want, is for them to be in the consultation and risk-based areas. The percentage of hours achieved was over 70% for those that had positions filled for the whole time. For those with vacancies, the numbers were off, depending on how long those positions were open, but good numbers there. And again, from the previous couple of years, risk-based audits, investigations, and the consulting activities have moved up in percentages, which is what we want to see. And so we're glad about that. If there are no questions about the status reports, and those are on page 39, I forgot to mention it, of your materials. Regent Burdine, this completes my informational report.
Thank you, Mike. Any other questions, comments before we move on to section 2? Section 2 also does require a roll call vote, so it's starts on page 60. So Mike, back to you again.
Thank you, Regent Burdine. First up, review of internal audit plans. Those are in your materials on page 60. Again, we're required to do audit plans for each fiscal year, as well as a revised audit plan for each quarter. In your materials, there's no, as I mentioned earlier, the vacancies at Cleveland, Columbia, and Motlow, we don't have a specific audit plan for those. Our office will cover those audit needs until the positions are filled. One note, if you're looking closely at the hours for our investigations audit plan, that looks a little high, but that's based on adding Emily to the group, and her hours are included in the investigations audit plan lumped together between Jennifer, Emily, and Daniel. We only have 2 system-wide required audits this time. We're going to be doing an accessibility audit, as well as a funding formula audit for completion, excuse me. 5 of our colleges will be doing a president's expense audit. And for those new members, we're required every year to do an audit of our president's travel, meals, and entertainment expenses. And we do approximately 1/3 of the community colleges each year, sort of a rotating basis. But we will be doing 5 of those colleges this year. So that's in the plan. Again, good news, a majority of the plans are for required and risk-based audits. And they cover primarily financial management areas and institutional support areas for the colleges. Chair Bernard, this completes my report on internal audit plans for fiscal year 26. Fiscal year 27.
27, yes. Thank you, sir. As previously mentioned, this section does require a roll call vote. So do I have a motion?
So moved. It's Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Second, this is David.
Thank you, David. Any discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll for the vote.
Regent Bradshaw,
Aye.
Chairman Burdine,
Aye.
Regent Kastner,
Aye.
Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's move on to section 2B, review of internal audit charters. Mike, microphone is yours.
Thank you again, sir. Internal audit charters, those are required to be approved by the audit committee. We have revised them previously, but this time we have 2 updates, one for Nashville State. Henry has revised his based on the internal audit standards. And then for Northeast State, with Juan Gondo coming on in April, he and Dr. McCord have completed the new audit committee charter for Northeast. And so those are in your materials starting on page 79. Chair Burdine, this completes my report on internal audit charters.
Thank you very much. This section also does require a roll call vote. So can I get a motion, please? Please.
So moved.
Tom.
Thank you.
Second, Tom.
Thank you. Any discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll for the vote.
Regent Bradshaw,
Aye.
Chairman Burdine,
Aye.
Regent Kastner,
Aye.
Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am. This does conclude the agenda for the public session. So unless anyone has any further discussion to come before the committee, the public portion of this meeting stands adjourned. Any other questions, concerns? Okay, after adjournment, thank you everyone for your time, and then we'll see you all that are allowed to be on this next call in just a minute. You should have your code and be able to get right back on. We are adjourned. Thank you.